I don't think I need to tell you that things are rough right now, and I hope I don't need to tell you that everything we're dealing with the pandemic, the climate crisis, the vast wealth inequality, the rising sex of fascism, and the failure of neoliberalism to do about it was the inevitable conclusion of the world shaped by the so-called end of history, where the worship of the market above all else meant unchained exploitation of people across the world, mentally and physically. The late Mark Fisher, in his book Capitalist Realism, suggested the tendrils of neoliberal capitalism reach so far that most people can't even conceive of an alternative. Certainly, its tendrils reach across so many branches of culture that the only alternatives promoted are the dictatorships abroad. In capitalism, you at least have a chance to succeed and be at the top, even if the deck is so stacked against you that actual successes are statistically irrelevant. I'd rather a society that made sure everyone was as healthy and happy as possible, but that's the slippery slope to communism, which immediately means going into Stalinist purges, right? That the exploitation of the global south is the only way we can live comfortable lives in the global north, even as corporations get bigger and bigger and find new and terrible ways to exploit workers, even on their home turf. That the best we can have hoped for is Joe Biden, the centrist raised on the wrong side of history, is proven almost as callous to the massive deaths of the pandemic as Donald Trump, but is just nicer about it. As I'm writing this, I'm in a materially comfortable position thanks to various privileges, but I'm far from happy. Every second there's a voice in the back of my mind, forged by the socio-cultural forces which I was born into, telling me I should make more money, that I should be more productive, that I should find a way to make every life aspect of my life optimized for monetization. And if I'm not doing that, I'm a useless parasite. I have struggled with my mental health almost my entire life and have wanted to die at many points, even with everything I have that I'm grateful for, because I felt I didn't deserve it. Last year, I came very close to actually ending things. But what if there was a world that didn't make me or anyone else feel that way? I was always a fan of superhero comics because of the vision they showed of a better future. Of course, superheroes are a hot commodity promoted through mass media with their message diluted, but the fundamental truth of them, from back when Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created a Superman who fought the robber barons responsible for the Depression, to the Chris Claremont X-Men that resisted the religious fundamentalism that declared their mutant identities inherently sinful, to the Captain America and Secret Empire that fought his way back against the Nazi doppelganger that perverted everything he stood for. Just stories in and of themselves, but these are glimmers of something, platonic shadows on the cave walls hinting at something new. My own comic, We Are the Wirecats, operates on these principles. I created a team of teen genius superheroes of different racial, gender, and neurological identities who band together to make this world better. I set the comic 5 years after neo-fascist insurgents put the team's leader, K.A., in a coma, leading to a global panic setting up a new age of global terror, with K.A. waking up having to set things right. As I am able, I plan to use this comic to represent everything I believe about the way things are and the way things should be. But I can't do this alone. I'm not naive enough to think any one person can deliver us from this ailing world to something better. I'm certainly not naive enough to think that my story can start any kind of revolution. And I wouldn't want to be the one person treated as a parasocial prophet. What I can offer is putting my own voice into the mix and doing my best to amplify the voices of others envisioning something better, and put my support behind those fighting to make the material world so. The human race is down but not out, and the increased popularity of socialism and the massive strikes across the globe are encouraging. More and more, the lies sold by capital, the false promises of individual success, and the encouragement of competition instead of cooperation fail to captivate. The Social Justice War Room is a podcast where I'll not only have my own commentary on media and art and society, but bring on guests doing new and exciting things to bring happiness to a miserable culture. I want to lift up the voices of others and forge connections between like-minded people. And I want to leave my listeners feeling better, even if slightly, so they can have a little more hope and feel a little less alone. Social justice warrior was a term created by reactionaries to shame people who care about the media they consume, how it represents the world, and how it potentially hurts others. Similar to virtue signaling, another chud word used to shame people who care about things as if they're only doing it to make themselves look better. But I'm not doing any of this to signal my own virtues. I'm here to signal those virtues for their own sake, so I and the generations after me can live in a society actually driven by those values.